this month?
Okay, I'll be presenting on an article that I found through the library site. It's on the moral values and moral identity moderate the indirect relationship between supplement use and doping use via sports supplement beliefs. That's a very lengthy title, but that's what they gave me. Move to the next slide. For the background, this article was accepted in 2022, and it basically focuses on discovering what the relationship is between doping and an athlete's morals, and it specifically is regarding the sports supplement use to the doping pipeline and how people use like different protein powders, creatine, stuff like that, and how it kind of gets them into using the illegal substances that you're not supposed to use in competitive sports. And just important things to know, like I said before, sports supplements include substances containing things such as caffeine, creatine, and sodium bicarbonate, and etc. And then doping, just for definition wise, nobody's familiar with what that means. It is the use of banned substances in competitive sports, aka performing enhancing drugs, PEDS. The next slide talks about doping in athletics, just for like some more background and stuff, and just giving examples of like people that have, been caught doping in athletic competitions and stuff. In 2012, Lance Armstrong lost all of his Tour de France titles and was banned from competing in future cycling competitions due to his doping. In 2003, there was a Valco scandal. Valco was basically a medical laboratory in California that they found out were giving out performing enhancing drugs, but the illegal ones to certain athletes. And Marion Jones was one of them. She initially just lied and said that she didn't have any, and she did, and they sentenced her to like 6 months in prison for lying to federal investigators because it involved like the U.S. Department of Health and Safety and stuff, and she lied, and they sent her to jail for like 6 months. And then a part of that scandal also included Barry Bonds. He initially stated that he did not know that he was receiving, illegal substances, but they went back into his history and found that he had been using multiple substances, so there was no way that he could not have known that he was using them. So he got in trouble for that as well. The next slide, is basically talking about the model, the incremental model of doping behavior, and that's basically what this whole article was based on. It was created by Petrozzi in 2013, and it basically says that doping comes from constant use of performance-enhancing drugs, such as sports supplements, medications, specialist equipment, and other things. And the decision to use doping for athletes usually comes from the thought that it is needed for performance. It's not really like morally related to anything. It's just the willingness that the athlete has to win and improve their game and stuff, and they decide that they want to resort to doping. It says the doping is seen as goal motivated and is simply encouraged by athletes wanting to increase performance. The next slide, just basically give us a background on the morality portion of the article. Morality, I looked it up on Google just to have a definition.
Nice.
The morality is basically the principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong or good or bad. And regarding to like this specific article as far as doping is concerned, as research hypothesized, the higher the moral values and higher the moral identity, the less likely an athlete is to dope. So basically just saying that like if the athlete has more of a moral feeling or like better in touch with like what's good and bad, what's right and what's wrong, they're less likely to dope. And then moving on to the next slide. So to conduct the study, they had they did 2 different studies. I forgot to list that on here, but they did 2 different studies. The first study the sample, and then the second one had 200 people in the sample. But the main one that I was mainly focused on was their first study with 366 athletes, and they the criteria for that, they had to be in a competitive sport, and they had to be 16 and older, because that's the way you are able to consent to being to doing a survey based on stuff like that. And the measures that were used in the study, they measured sports supplement use, sports supplement beliefs, moral values, and doping use. And they basically randomly selected athletes using social media sites like Facebook, LinkedIn, stuff like that. And through that, they asked if they want to participate. The 366 did. And through that 366, they anonymously sent them an online survey to complete, and had criteria for them to meet in order to do the survey. And the results from the survey, from there, it said 37.4 participants used sports supplements. You can switch the slides, I'm sorry.
Oh.
From the results, it had 37.4% of participants used sports supplements, 92.1% never considered doping, 4.4% thought briefly, 1.6% quite a bit, and 0.8% occasionally thought about doping. And as far as doping in general, 0.3% briefly doped, also 0.3% occasionally, and 0.5% regularly. And from that, with those 0.5%, they found that their moral identity was lower. And so they found that sports supplement beliefs had an effect on the relationship between sports supplement use and doping use, and the effects didn't exist when moral values and moral identity were high, which basically supports the IMDb hypothesis that I stated earlier, that the higher the moral values, the less they are to dope. And in conclusion, excuse this little click to add subtitle thing right there. It's just right there. This study clarifies why basically a lot of athletes do end up turning to doping, because it's not really a case of morality, because from the study you see that most of these athletes don't really have any moral values or moral identity to classify themselves in. It's more so of just a willingness to improve what they're doing and stuff like that. And with this study, it would really be helpful for sports organizations to kind of emphasize anti-doping and educate athletes and others about why doping is bad, and kind of enhance an athlete's moral side of it rather than just the competitive side of an athlete.
Yeah.
So, that's it. Short, sweet.
I love it. So let's talk about doping a little bit. Do you want to lead the discussion? Or do you want me to?
I can follow.
Maybe. If I can find my, there we go. I'll do it over here. So, pro-doping, raise your hand. Anti-doping? Raise your hand.
Oh,
Pro. Okay, pro-doping first. 1. Anti-doping?
I don't really care.
I'm ambivalent to it.
Yeah.
What are some pros and what are some cons? I remember I was in an undergraduate class, and full of athletes, football players, basketball players, revenue sport type athletes. We were talking about this, and I'm like, okay, what if we make it really, really clear, right? Because the effects of doping sometimes are not immediate in terms of negative consequences; they're delayed. And so, if we said, okay, you can play in the NFL for 3 years, but then you're gonna lose your arm, chop it off. It's got to be gone. You've got to, get an amputation due to doping. They're like 3 years. I'm like, yeah, what arm? And I'm like, okay, well that gives me an idea of where you're at, right? In terms of what you're willing and unwilling to put in your body and the consequences you're willing to pay for later. Because 3 years apparently was a good time frame. I guess they're thinking millions of dollars over 3 years. But who needs my whatever non-dominant arm is? I don't know. So what are some pros that we can think of as, the people in the class? Don't think as athletes, just think as who you are for athlete doping.
Rehab.
Ah, okay. What about rehab?
Like, I mean, just for, not to think as an athlete, but say you get hurt and it's like a pretty severe injury and like you're a Division I or a college athlete, I mean, the athletic trainers give those athletes steroid shots basically to rebuild muscle, to feel the effects of them being able to come back a lot sooner than what they actually need to be, in a way of, hey, we need you.
Yeah.
Like we need to we need to fast forward and bypass the actual rehab for a certain injury. So we'll give you a steroid and you'll be able to create muscle faster. You'll be able to get stronger faster. I mean, I've seen it throughout sports.
Yeah.
Pretty much all my life.
Any sport.
Yeah.
Literally. And also, because steroids will reduce inflammation, right? We use them for, like I use them for when I have tonsillitis or something. They'll give me steroids, or for laryngitis or something. They will give me steroids and it will stop hurting. And so recovery, it speeds up recovery. And so in theory, not in theory, in practice, like if an athlete has a very extraneous activity, it will take them longer to recover naturally than with steroids, right? And I'm sure there are other advantages to that, like muscle building and all this. And so if they're using them constantly, there can be like, yeah, I'm gonna get stronger faster, I'm gonna hurt less after a game or after a hard practice. And so I can see the appeal. I mean, I use them when I get them prescribed because I don't wanna sit there and be hurting, from tonsillitis or whatever. They usually give them to me for respiratory issues. So, like I don't want to have all this inflammation. Take it away. Give me a steroid shot.
Yeah.
I can only imagine if it's your whole body hurting, right? So,
I mean, I know for like baseball players, they give or pitchers at least, they give a PRP shot in their shoulder, and that's kind of a fast bypass to. You get 3 weeks to relax and recover, and once you get that 3 weeks over, your arm's going to feel 10 times better than what it did. And if it keeps hurting, then that's when surgery becomes an option and all the other fun stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so rehab, recovery, performance, does it affect performance? Some of it,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
It depends.
It does.
What kind of steroid you're taking and using?
Right, and also it doesn't necessarily have to be just steroid. Like, I don't know if Armstrong was doing blood doping as opposed to steroids.
I know for like Barry Bonds, he did take PEDs, but I mean it really didn't help his performance because he was already the best.
Yeah.
Like in my world, Barry Bonds is the greatest baseball player alive as far as hitting. And I mean, yeah, he broke the home run record. Yeah, he's not allowed in the Hall of Fame ever, but he used it to look bigger. Like he already hit the ball out of the stadium.
So aesthetics?
Yeah.
Is that a pro? I mean, who doesn't?
I mean, if you're thinking about it from like an aesthetic standpoint, for like bodybuilders and weightlifters and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I guess the strength portion goes into the performance portion. But like if you're a professional bodybuilder and you do, what are those shows? Those shows like where they do like
World's Greatest Man.
World's Greatest Man and stuff like that.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, honestly,
Yes.
you could imagine, and it's so funny that I talk about it now because when I used to work at a gym back home, there was a guy that came in with his wife. He had a really younger wife, but he looked like a very, very old, harmed, sickly man. And she was like, yeah, he was participating in like World's Greatest Man, and she showed me all these pictures of like what he used to look like. And he was a very buff guy, like very like big up top, small at the bottom, like way they usually look.
The typical bodybuilder.
Yeah, a typical bodybuilder.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is he was so weak and so everything else because all the steroids she was stuff like that, and his bones, his blood, everything was just kind of out of whack. But if you ask him, like right now, he probably say he doesn't regret it, like at all.
Yeah.
Because it was the performance aspect of it, and he won a lot of awards for it.
In the women division, I don't know if it's the same in the men's division, and don't ask me why I know. In the women's division, they have clean competition and like right up competition because the female body actually develops differently if you give it steroid or testosterone than if you don't, right? And so our muscles look different, our body composition looks different, like triangle versus hourglass shape, all this, right? And so they don't want them competing in the same category because it's not evaluating the same body physique. So they separate them, and if you wanna take supplements and all these other, substances, you can be in this competition. If you don't, then you can be on this competition and know your body is going to look smaller and different, most likely.
I want to say they have that for men's, because I know that, like, at least for the men's part, like, back in, like, 4 or 5 years ago, I would follow some of those competitions, and a lot of those competitions you have to take a drug test before, just to make sure, hey, he's natural, or he's a roid head.
Right. And, we're talking about the ethics and the morality and how certain, if you are in a certain part of the spectrum, you're more likely to or less likely to consume these substances, any substances. And so why would somebody that is very on this end of the bell curve want to compete with somebody at the top of the bell curve or at the end of the bell curve? You will have to be work so much harder and be so much better. Like Barry Bonds, like he's already at the top. He wouldn't have needed to, but he wanted to. And so the next one over, how far away were they? Like how much of a margin was there for the next person over to be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this clean.
I looked up the Lance Armstrong stuff. They said he used EPOs, then had a blood transfusion, testosterone, and cortisone in between 1998 and 2005, and then he used EPOs, testosterone, and HGH through 1996.
I wonder how
he
he's
was giving it out to other people too. It seemed like.
So, like, the Barry Bonds thing, there was a documentary that came out this last year.
Ooh.
And it's called Steroids in Baseball, I believe. It's with Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and Barry Bonds. And basically, like, so Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, they all played in the same time, but the careers didn't line up. Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa were before Barry Bonds in his beginning years. He was playing against him, but he was the same. Before and after steroids, he was the same person. And basically it was a point of people were like, you'll never be as good as them, you don't hit the ball as far as them, and he was like, okay, I'll show you. And he started taking them, and he gained probably 45 pounds. I want to say he finished playing at 285 pounds, but he was pretty good.
Yeah. I wonder if he would have been that good if he didn't have that body mass.
So
there's no way of knowing.
Before his steroid era, he was a 3-time Silver Slugger, a 3-time MVP, would hit 50 home runs a year, and after he was a 4-time Silver Slugger, 2-time MVP. His numbers before were better than his numbers after. He just hit the ball further. But
better showmanship.
And my thought is, baseball's already hard as it is. You got to square around ball and around bat. You square it up, ball goes far. And he still had to hit the ball.
Yeah.
100 miles an hour, still
right.
not a hit.
You can give me all the steroids you want. I'm not gonna hit that ball. It's gonna hit me probably because I'm gonna go and dive in front of it. You're talking about they have the ability to do that. They've practiced it their whole life, and the technique is there.
Yeah.
Steroids don't change that.
I don't know.
So, yeah. All right. Good discussion. Any more pros? How about cons?
Liver failure.
So health, liver failure. Okay. Only the liver?
I mean, I've played with so many people that have taken steroids and like they're on liver pills, kidney pills, I can't think of, those are the two biggest ones that I know.
Yeah.
When you go to junior college, I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
They're guys that are trying to get really big and trying to get really strong. They'll hop on a cycle of it's called SARMs, basically HGH, and it's a faster recovery, it's a faster muscle build, like.
You can push your body harder. Yeah.
It says that,
Addiction.
yeah, anabolic steroids, can cause severe long-lasting, blah, blah, blah. They can cause early heart attacks, strokes, liver
Yeah, I
tumors,
guess.
irregular liver failure, kidney failure, and psychiatric problems.
Okay. I'm not gonna show you how I spell psychiatric.
What's that movie Will Smith when he was like that doctor?
Concussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CTE. I mean, that CTE really doesn't have anything with
that ain't no
steroids, but that's just,
knocking your head inside.
However, will the concussion rate go down in a sport that is steroid free? You don't think so?
No.
Because I'm like, they are more powerful and like the explosiveness, right?
Yeah.
They're more powerful, more explosive, and then they collide. And both sides are more powerful and more explosive than they will be
it'll
without
have an effect,
steroids.
but not that large an effect. Cause I did a project on CTE a while back.
Yeah.
That doesn't really have that big of an effect. It's the sport as a whole. Cause soccer and football, that's where you're gonna get the most concussions.
Yeah.
In any other sport.
Right.
And then the constant, it's not really like the immediate hit and the more force. It's the constant of doing it every day of your whole life since you were a child, knocking heads with people and stuff like that. That's what causes the brain damage, and it's something that they still can't identify. And, stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't done any research on it. I was just thinking as a mom, you know, like, okay, so let's see if they're bigger and stronger and if more explosive, chances are it's gonna be hard. Yeah, true. I wonder if steroids do help brain swelling and like it might have the opposite effect, right? Because it helps with healing. Does it only help muscles?
I think it only attacks like the muscle groups.
Okay.
Just, I mean, like
because all these are
It
muscles
just-
and they're not.
Yeah, it's just muscles. They say that the most, as far as the brain is concerned, steroids is just affecting like your depression and anxiety. But that's not it.
Yeah.
It ain't like
Interesting.
real fix.
Yeah.
I mean, it does mess with your body a lot.
Yeah.
But I will, like, it probably comes from, I mean, it changes a lot of your, it changes a lot of your, like, hormone levels, changes a lot of your depression levels and all that kind of stuff. Like, I've seen some people get really down bad from
Body chemistry.
steroids. Like,
Yeah.
it's no joke.
What about, so these are all health related cons. Anything else other than that?
I mean, it's part of health probably, but you're at a higher exposure to tear body parts as far as like hamstrings, biceps.
Yeah. I don't know, is that how you spell tears?
Yes.
Because it reads tears.
It's the same way.
Is the same word? Okay. I hesitated. I'm like, my second grader will know. Because I was gonna spell it
I don't really
tires.
think there are that many cons
Yeah.
to, I mean, okay, looking at it from, I know you said don't look at it from an athlete standpoint, but looking at it from like an athletic standpoint,
Yeah.
I guess if you do get caught using the steroids, like they're snatching everything from you, your respect is pretty much gone,
Yeah.
I guess in a sense. Your respect as an athlete, I think, like, you know, in their head, in my head, I don't really think steroids has a lot to do with, I don't know. It does have a lot to do with it, but your talent as an athlete doesn't really outweigh, well, the steroids don't really outweigh your natural talent as an athlete. So like he was saying with Barry Bonds, he was just naturally talented. The steroids was just an enhancer.
But when you say like Barry Bonds, I don't really think of the steroids and stuff like that. But
Right.
people that know that he used it and that's all that they know about him, they're probably like, oh, he used steroids, that's why he played so good, and you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. So the PR damage to your brand.
Yeah.
Is so are people purists then, sport fans? Like they want to see, for example, you all are old enough to know Michael Jordan, right? And have watched him play. Okay. I'm like just checking because some of my undergrads are like, I mean, we know who he is because there's Jordans, but like they didn't watch him at his best.
We're not old enough for that. Oh, that was like in the 90s.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan played in 2000.
Yeah, that was like in his prime.
He was still good.
He wasn't in his prime.
With the Wizards?
He was
He was
good,
good,
but he
you
was
talking
like
about
in
Michael
his
Yeah.
prime.
I'm talking about.
The only reason I've seen it is because of my dad has a lot of videotapes and stuff like that. But
Got it.
like, I didn't see
You
it in
weren't alive.
person.
Well, we probably.
And we
well,
wasn't
y'all
aware
probably
enough
were.
for that.
Yeah.
We weren't aware enough for that.
Yeah,
we were like
y'all
2
were
or 3.
born, but I
I still
was.
sat for the TV watching Blood.
And you remember that too.
No, you don't.
No.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, we were.
So like if they were, I've never heard of Michael Jordan
He never used.
with steroids or enhancing drugs or still like his I mean his reputation is amazing, best basketball players of all times maybe.
Yeah, he is.
No, he.
I like that's
And-
yeah.
Yeah.
And like there have been
I thought you
no
were gonna say
steroid scandals with him, no drug scandals with him. Like he played in a pure form, and he was still excellent. Simone Biles, haven't heard anything. Like pure form, excellent.
Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. How will our image of them change if we find out that they use performance-enhancing drugs?
Depends on the person.
I realize all these are black athletes. I just thought of that. I'm like, I'm not saying,
It's
I'm saying
very-
they're clean, but
In the NBA, it's very rare to see the NBA player using steroids.
well, though
It's
they
not
don't
much-
help.
It's not. It's because really the steroids. I mean, what are they doing? Just gonna get you bigger.
Yeah.
Honestly,
They make
And-
you
and does-
stronger.
You know,
Will they make you faster though? Because I don't think they do that.
honestly, I
They
think
affect those muscle
there is
groups.
more for injury because
Ah, yeah.
And like injury, I mean injury is where steroids
Injury
would
is-
possibly come
that's
up
where
for
they-
an NBA player.
Yeah.
they get ankle shots all the time.
I mean, but as far as basketball is concerned, I think it's not really needed because it's more of like a skill with your hands and your shooting and your dribbling and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it'll enhance your muscles and stuff like that, but it's more so like brain thing and focusing on your skill and stuff like that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really think steroids would be needed in this sense unless you just like really suck
Right.
and you just like,
Yes. Like yeah. So if you really suck and you use steroids, then it will put you in the league.
yeah.
Maybe. Right. But like those excellent players, like they don't need it. Like I will be kind of crushed if any of these players that we mentioned used performance-enhancing drugs. And specific, I'm sure there are different drugs, and I'm not an expert on exercise physiology, right? Or chemistry. I'm a sport manager, for Christ's sake. But like, I'm sure there are specific drugs for specific things. I will say, there was a Russian skater that was taking a drug that helped her with vertigo.
What, Tanya Harding?
Say that again?
Tanya Harding? Was it her?
No, it was the little girl, the 15-year-old.
Oh, yeah, this past year. I know who you're talking
Like
about.
last
I know
year,
you did.
right
I
before
know.
war broke out, yeah. And so, like, if you can spin faster and longer because you have a drug that helps you, then, it's not her body's skill, it's her, so she didn't get, dizzy and she could do it for long. And it's more impressive and it affects her score. And so, I'm sure there is probably a drug that helps you, specifically with strength, specifically with speed, specifically with vertigo, specifically with whatever skill you need. And so, what I'm getting at is any sport could be corruptible with performance-enhancing drugs if we think really into it and dig into the research and look at the effects of different drugs on different parts, right, on different bodies and whatnot. And also how you metabolize it, right? It may be that somebody might not benefit from steroids, but they might benefit from something else. And so just depending, I remember I had one-on-one meetings with my students, was it last semester or the semester before? And I brought coffee, and Cash wouldn't take it because he was gonna have a competition and he couldn't have an excess amount of caffeine, and because it was just a coffee off the street, so I mean, tremendous respect for that, right? Of course, he doesn't want to get disqualified, but also good, not even say nothing, and that was I thought it was admirable. I am not necessarily a purist in any way, but does it affect the showmanship of the sport and the marketability of it? I mean, do we want to see Barry Bonds hit home runs or hit it out of the stadium home runs?
I mean, home run's a home run to me.
Yeah.
I would love to. I mean, I've watched Barry Bonds play I probably watched 100 of his games.
Yeah.
And every single time he came up to the plate, it was automatic. Everybody knew.
Mm-hmm.
Ball ain't staying in the yard. It's leaving.
Yeah.
Good luck throwing to him.
And is football more attractive because the people are bigger and stronger, or will it be just as attractive if the game was pure and drug free?
I don't really think it would make a difference for real. They're still bumping into each other because I think the aspect that really gets people with football is the most physical portion of it.
Yeah.
The contact part of it.
Yeah.
You get knocked out by a 300-pound dude. I don't care if he on steroids or not. He 300 pounds.
Right.
He just knocks you out. So I don't feel like the minute if you told me my favorite player was on steroids, it really wouldn't make a difference to me because he still performed in these certain ways and still made history in that certain way.
Yeah.
So I feel like steroids and stuff like that can only affect so much.
Right, but I'm thinking,
me.
in a sport like football, you have this cluster of players. It's not a formation, it's just a group of players, right? And they're all about the same performance level. And then this one uses steroids and it jumps him a little. So what are these players gonna do? Get trampled and bulldozed by this player? Or are they gonna use steroids to catch up and continue? And even though it looks minuscule, right? That minuscule part may be significant in sport because they win by inches, so then once this is introduced into the sports environment, either all these people are gonna have to catch up. It's not like it was these players and this player and he used steroids like this, which is what I think was happening with Barry Bonds, right? Like this situation right here. He was already ahead of the game. And so these players, if they use steroids, it will catch them up to here maybe, but they're still not, and so it has a different effect, this particular player using steroids. But if this player and this player use steroids, then what are the rest of these participants gonna do? Say we're gonna kick them out of the game and keep the game pure, or let's allow this and all be better, quote unquote, because it's not in their best well-being interest in the long run. But right now, we're thinking about right now, right? Because these are people at their prime, and they are the longevity, depending on the sport, is not that long, and so the decisions that are being made and who's making those decisions, and is their agent going, you gotta catch up, no matter how, you gotta catch up. I don't know, it's not a question that we have to answer right now, but it's something to ponder. And yeah, it makes it sometimes more entertaining for some people, sometimes more attractive. We all take medicines, maybe we'll get shots, so I'm about to get a flu shot, so.
I take pre-workout before I work out.
See, I don't, maybe I should, I don't know.
They'll make you jump off the walls.
Yeah.
And hit your face.
Oh,
You're
so
already kind of hyper. You don't need it.
it's it's caffeinated.
Yeah.
I
don't even.
I don't need the extra energy.
It's got some of everything.
The one biggest thing with pre-workout is the beta-alanine. Once you get beta-alanine and you get a high dosage of that, your whole body will be tingly,
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like your face, legit, when I take it, my face, I just wanna scratch my face off.
Cause I can do a full like 2-hour workout and still have energy after.
Oh, hell no.
But then again, I think I got a little ADHD that they don't tell me about. So that's another problem.
I'll probably not sleep. Like everybody at my old gym used to do pre-workout and post-workout, and they had all these powders and the shakers, and I'm not walking around going, I can't take, you know those,
The sniffing salts.
oh my gosh, those are ridiculous.
Those are the best.
I'm about to get into that.
They wake you up.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I'm thinking about like the protein shakes. I can't take protein shakes because I break out like a teenager.
That's the real.
And so I'm like, yeah, probably. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna take a protein shake. I'm gonna get my protein from fish and from beef and from, you know, kale.
Have
So
you tried the vegan protein
Mm-mm.
powders? They have like plant-based protein powders.
I should probably check that out. Yeah, because milk is an issue in my house.
Do you know what it like is in protein that gets you, or protein powders?
Whey.
It's the milk.
It's whey protein.
Whey protein. So there's a brand called ISO. It's whey ISO, but the whey in it is completely cut out. It's broken down into even like smaller segments. Because I had that same issue.
Yeah.
And once I got onto the whey ISO, no problems.
Cool. I'm gonna try it.
They have like fruity pebbles flavor and like
Oh, nice.
it's so good.
And
Yeah.
then they have this other one. It's a juice protein powder. I'm trying to find it.
Oh, nice.
It's like a juice.
Yeah.
It tastes like Kool-Aid.
Yeah, because all that creatine stuff, like my husband used to take that and he will recover faster and all this, but I'm just like, I mean, I've been working out my whole life with nothing. So why will I add it now? And it's not like I'm a competitive athlete, right? And so when we work out, does everybody take pre-workout and post-workout?
I take creatine,
Yeah.
protein shakes.
And it helps you recover?
And
Yeah.
the one thing I think that would help you recover the most, and I've used it as an athlete too, is collagen.
Ah,
Like realistically,
yeah.
in the middle of the night before I go to sleep, I take a scoop of collagen with hot water, and it would legit, like the next day I would not be sore whatsoever.
I'm gonna have to try. Send me the name of those brands because I break out with collagen too.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
I was taking it for my hair and my nails, and because you're lifting weights, my nails are breaking all over the place. I'm like, I want to have a manicure
It
and
might be
lift
the
heavy.
brand of collagen that you're taking too. Like, cause if you take,
Yeah.
I think it's that little blue one that they sell at Target that everybody buys and stuff like that. I feel like that's just like,
Fat in a pill. No, I don't know. Yeah. So let's get to the sniffing salts.
So I've played with multiple people, and my first year here, there's a senior that used them. Anytime he'd go into the game, he was our closer. And to be a closer in baseball, you kind of got to be like psychotic. Like legit, you
Yeah.
got, like it's that FU mentality, like you're not beating me, I'm beating you.
Mm-hmm.
So he would, and he had some pretty strong ones, to where like from me to you, he would open them and I would smell it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
he opens it, he'd go,
Oh no, more than once.
close it, and as he's walking out of the bullpen, he's just sitting there slapping the hell out of his face, like as hard as he can. And then right when he gets like through the gate, like he'll punch himself even harder.
Now, is he doing the slapping and the punching to intimidate? Like, is that a psychological? No.
Just
What's the reason?
his face is already all jacked up from sniffing twice, so he's trying to get the tingly feeling out of his face, and he's waking himself up.
Yeah.
Just-
They smell like ammonia to me. We have them at
It is
the old
ammonia.
gym. Or whatever. Okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah. You all know that ammonia and rat pee smell the same? Yeah, we're sniffing rat pee. No, not really. It's not the same components, but they smell the same. Like
Yeah.
you walk into a mice, hamster, rat breeding place, which I used to know people that own one, and I would go play with the cute mice. You walk
you
into
would play
them.
with mice?
Yeah, they're
Oh,
cute. Yeah, they're cute. Hamsters, mice. Yeah. They were breeders. Yeah. And so they were like, "You want to go see the mice?" I'm like, "Sure." First time I walked in there, I thought I was gonna pass out. It smelled like ammonia, but it was all the pee. And I'm like, "Oh, interesting." And then I smelled the salt, and I'm like, because somebody opened them at the gym. Big gym, you can smell them no matter where you are.
Yeah.
And then people are sniffing them and screaming, and I'm just like, I don't understand the physiology of it to where it helps you lift.
It just gives you
It's like a.
it gives you like that 30 second to like 2 minutes, minute and a half, like your body fully absorbs the most that it can. And it's, I mean, if somebody's using it for their warm-up set, they need to rethink life.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah,
somebody's
that's
using it to like
PR.
PR or max,
Yeah.
like that's something it's useful for. It's like that couple seconds, that couple minutes it wakes up your body, and it makes your air valves throughout your nose open up a little bit more than extra.
Got it. And I assume it activates your flight or fight
It does.
just because of the shock of
Yeah.
everything opening up.
It's
Oxygen.
funny seeing people that never use it for the first time, and they're not smart with it, so nobody on our team will tell them like what to do with it. They'll grab it and put it up like against their nose, and I just sit there and I just start dying laughing because I know what the reaction's gonna be. They're gonna throw it down, they're gonna start doing this, and like they're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we had somebody use it like almost every day, and I'm like, quit using the salts every day. Like you only need the salts for PR days, like for maxing days. Maybe if you do, but yeah, I'm afraid to use anything. But yeah, I'll